My name is Kathleen Reid. I'm the founder and managing director of Switchboard Public Relations. Switchboard is a full-service PR firm based in Vancouver, Canada. We work with technology companies across North America, from small startups to large multinationals, and as they're on their journey growing and scaling. In terms of inspiring me to start Switchboard, my family's pretty entrepreneurial. So I have a blended family. So I have a mom, a bonus mom, a dad, a bonus dad. All of them are founders and run their own businesses. So I like to say that it was a bit in my DNA. I started my career in public relations at National Public Relations, which is a large firm across Canada. And when I was there, I just loved agency work. Then I went in-house, really liked it, and loved working at a large multinational, working in the corporate affairs department. And I saw how agency client relationship really should work. So that was exciting for me. And then I thought, oh, I kind of need the variety. I'm missing that in-house. And I started consulting on my own. So just as Kathleen Reid Consulting, and then that morphed into Switchboard as more client work came in, and it morphed into finding real passion to work with tech companies and tech-enabled companies. Favorite part of my job, I think, is solving clients' problems, because when clients come to us, their problem can seem really big. It might seem like a level 10 issue that needs to be managed. And we can come in smoothly, take control, and help them move through that issue. So I love chaos. My husband jokes that my childhood must have been pretty chaotic, because I like being in the chaos. And when clients are having issues, I love managing them. Crisis communications is probably my favorite area of PR. I think the type of companies that use our services primarily are either technology companies that are at a startup stage, but maybe have done a bit of financing or have a really good story to tell. We don't work with a ton of startups, but when they're ready, we do. Then I'd say probably small and medium-sized companies that are groundbreaking, that are able to announce a raise or on a big talent and recruitment mission, and that they're growing and scaling pretty quickly, and they might need to reach audiences outside of British Columbia. They want to go for all of Canada or all of the US. And then I'd say multinational companies that really need boots on the ground, either in BC or Alberta. We have offices in both Vancouver and Calgary. We're continuing to grow and scale Switchboard, so hopefully we'll have offices soon in Seattle and Toronto, other cities. And I think companies come to us when they want a data-driven approach, KPI. We're really driven to make sure that we're hitting our key performance indicators that we put out. And part of that is, as a founder myself, I know how important that is when someone's putting a dollar figure to a service, right? So when we're using our law firm or our accounting firm, all those dollars matter to a business as they're growing and scaling. So that's something that we really have embedded in our culture. I'll answer the latter portion of your question first. No, you don't need to have a background in PR. My background is in political science, international relations, and economics. So I didn't even know about PR when I was in university. We have had folks on our teams with accounting backgrounds, legal backgrounds, journalistic backgrounds. So really, a PR degree or certificate isn't going to get your foot in the door at Switchboard. What we look for in folks that are joining our team is really someone who's a problem solver. So you're strategic. You're not going to come with more problems. You're going to be very solutions driven. We look for folks that are detail oriented. You're not wanting to have a typo if you work for a PR firm. So my team's used to me saying, have you triple checked this? Are you 110% sure? Go to the triple check, go to the 110. I'm someone who likes to continue to innovate. So we have that in our DNA at Switchboard. So it's always, this is great, but how can we get to the next level? Never, celebrate the wins and pause to reflect on them, but let's push to the next level. And then I would say you have to really enjoy technology, innovation, and science. If you don't, it's going to be a difficult industry to work, a difficult company to work at, because you wouldn't know those industries. And then we look for connections. Are you connected to members of government, the media, the ecosystem, the community? And if you are, you probably have a good chance of working with us. So I think if you want to work in public relations, you have to decide what sector you want to work in. I like the business, technology, science sectors within PR. Some people really prefer lifestyle PR. I'm not someone who enjoys that space. So find out the industries and sectors that you look like and that you like, and then find a firm that represents those sectors that you could work at. I'd say firm experience is really important because it allows you to manage client files. I learned so much from my time at National. And you get to be a bit of a comms generalist because you're touching various areas. So you might do a bit of public affairs work, crisis communications, media relations, and you can find areas within PR that you. And then we usually do put a summer student position up, and we usually put that job description up in late April, early May for a summer student. And I think we've had a summer student for the last 3 to 4 years. Great question. I think the landscape has changed so much. I think now more than ever, really solid public relations matters. I think the industry is actually growing, even if where we get our news is changing. So I think the ways that we get our news, the mediums that we're using have changed. I mean, Clubhouse is a good example of that, right? Is it going to kill the podcast sector? Who knows? We don't know yet, right? We're going to have to wait and see. It's definitely making authentic communications more accessible. In some ways, I would say in some ways it doesn't. Just being mobile and things like that. I think that those ways it's changed. And I think people want more authentic communications now more than ever, and that human interest stories and some good news stories, people are thirsty and hungry for those, right? We see so much doom and gloom in the news that if you can break through some of that noise to tell your story, there's some good opportunities there. I also think crisis comms is an area that's grown quite a bit with everyone having a smartphone and certain, narratives coming up, that I think you need to make sure that you're ready when that happens, because people expect a really quick response now. And that's way different than at the start of my career and even 5 years ago. So with social and with just the availability of information and how quickly media will have deadlines, you want to make sure you're getting back to them ASAP. Hey, Viv. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like that's probably someone's standard answer. No, I think that you've got a great team, and Viv and Caddy and others are a huge part of that. I've always loved the Vancouver Startup Week community. So I know I've spoken at Vancouver Startup Week. We've had clients go to Vancouver Startup Week. I think it's so important that our ecosystem has companies of all sizes, right? And startups are an important part of that. And I think for small and medium-sized companies, it's a great event as well to get their foot in the door, to make connections. I think community is so important. People say Vancouver is, not, it's a hard city to make friends. It's a hard city to live in, all of these things. And I think we've got one of the strongest communities out there. So I'm really happy to put Switchboard services behind Vancouver Startup Week.